Let us resume. Mr. To. Well, of course, we need to comply with the United Nations legislations. Well, just now you talked about the Criminal Code of Australia, and you made reference with the in connected to from that code. Have you also made reference from other countries? Do they distinguish it like that? Or does the code say that for Australian nationals, they are similar to HKPRs? Or if they say that, or anyone who resides in Australia, then if compared to that, that will mean that there is a huge discrepancy. Can you find out or look for a few examples to show us how we differ from others? I have another question, Chairman. Legal advisor, do you have any supplement? The administration in the first reply has already given us a table on. They have made reference from examples from other countries, including Canada, Australia, and Britain, if I remember this correctly. So they say in connected to, there is a table, but without the legislation in writing. Okay, so we know which countries you're talking about, but if they could provide us with further information, then you referred. Well, yes. So we want to see whether they're talking about anyone who resides in Australia or just Australian nationals. I'm sure they have a definition. Legal advisor. I'm not sure if I'm correct, but my understanding is that in Australia, they have already talked about Australian citizens, residents of Australia, or is a holder. Or can you please take it slow? Australian citizen, or is a resident of Australia, or is a holder under the Migration Act of a visa, or has voluntarily or herself under the protection of Australia. So this is included under Australia, but in Canada and Britain, it seems that there is no further information on whether those would include residents or nationals. Perhaps the administration can address this concern. Oh, yes, citizens. So you're talking about those who have made their oath. Residents would be similar to would be those who are not yet nationals, or those who have already, or those who are immigrating. They have made their landing, then they might be included. So that's a bit similar to our non-PRs. With less than 7 years of residence. Well, what about making torture claims? That someone made a torture claim and we prohibited that person to join IS. Well, or I'm just coming up with such an example. Other countries have made it quite broad. We are narrowing the scope. From what I hear, if we do not prohibit such a person and to just let him go, there would still be legislations in other countries to regulate it. And these people, if they're going to join IS, then they might not take common routes. They may take land routes and go in a roundabout manner. Well, we learn from intelligence, but usually we don't find out our intelligence on our own. We rely on other countries' intelligence, but we can't prohibit other people because we have narrowed the scope to PRs only. Well, I understand that there are downsides. Well, I'm asking you to reconsider. I also have to consider my own view again. When the finger is being pointed at us, we would be in serious trouble. Let's say there's another 911 incident, and it is because of our narrow scope that we didn't prohibit a person from leaving Hong Kong, and that they're indirectly pointing the finger at us. I understand your honest intentions. You have disclosed your intentions, but I just want to try to ask you to reconsider. Well, I don't have any supplementary information. We'll provide you the response in writing. Mr. To, well, yes, I have other questions. I would like to ask all my questions now so they can address them all. Here you're prohibiting person from leaving Hong Kong. Well, Taiwan is part of China. We are trying to be politically correct here. A permanent resident, or rather not, a person going to Taiwan. I'm not saying that there is such terrorist training in Taiwan, but I think it should be safer for us to be inclusive. There might be an island near Taiwan that is under the autonomy of Taiwan, but with very relaxed regulations. Would we also be able to prohibit people from leaving Taiwan? Deputy Secretary, well, 2178 is very clear that each country will prohibit nationals and other persons from going to other countries. One states that China includes Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. And so for those who are going into Taiwan and Macau, this would not be included under the bill. Well, you may not agree with you, Mr. To, but we have to closely follow the spirit of UNSCR 2178. With the amendment, will be difficult for people to engage in such acts. Well, when you're talking about the U.S., some people going from the East Coast to West Coast, they will need to rely on their own national legislations. But you may give me the example of a person from Hong Kong going to Tibet or Outer Mongolia to participate in terrorist activities. If there is such a situation, then we would share intelligence with Macau and Taiwan, and then to have them enforce their legislation in their own places. Well, this is not very ideal. Well, you have put out your argument here, but then Xinjiang differs from Macau and Taiwan. the central government will have methods in stopping any terrorism in Xinjiang, same as Macau, because they're all under mainland jurisdiction. But for Taiwan, it's a bit different in my opinion. The situation is a bit different. I recall that some of our legislation includes Taiwan as well. If you prohibit certain things, it's also prohibited in Taiwan. However, in writing, you just said outside of Hong Kong. I'm just trying to be thorough here. Yes, UNSCR only stipulates places outside of a certain country. But Taiwan, well, politically correctly speaking, it is also under China. But the jurisdiction is a bit different. No, I think you should make this clear. I'm not sure how you have considered all this. Perhaps you should put out all these items for our reference. Our Deputy Secretary, you have heard Mr. To's comments, and it would be much appreciated if you could submit all the supplementary information for the next meeting. We have spent 3 meetings on these issues in principle. There have been many questions, but now I have noticed that many questions are very detailed, almost into clause-by-clause scrutiny. So I think we should start clause-by-clause scrutiny in the next meeting. And during that period, then you will be able to ask your questions during that time. I do not agree. Why, Mr. To? Because what we're talking about is not solely limited to clause-by-clause scrutiny. We are still talking about some of the principles here. For example, we are still talking about some issues in principle. Chairman, I don't think you need to worry that we would be repetitive in our discussion. If we're able to get all our answers before the clause-by-clause scrutiny, then we'll be able to go through the scrutiny very quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to ask my questions in the clause-by-clause scrutiny period. Mr. To, don't worry, I would give you ample time for discussion.
For example, today, members have asked repeated questions, and I have given members sufficient time. Mr. Pt2, I have attended the meetings a number of times. I have never spoken before. I would have only been waiting for the clause-by-clause scrutinies, but I have also been patiently listening to other members raising their concerns about the bill. I think that combating terrorism is important. I hope that we can go through with it as soon as possible. All right, perhaps at the next meeting. Yes, Mr. To. I'm sorry, but I hope we'll understand this point. We have raised some new issues this time. At least half of the points raised are new. I still have some other points relating to the policy. And Chairman, you cannot stop us from raising these concerns. If we can address these concerns first, we can go through the clause-by-clause scrutiny really fast. I hope members will bear with me. If I'm repeating myself, then please point that out to me. I still have other points relating to the policy and other issues. It won't take long. If you must start clause-by-clause scrutiny next time, Chairman, I can just tell you that, I may get emotional, because if I'm not able to go through all the points when we talk about a policy, then during clause-by-clause scrutiny, I can just stop and ask questions any time, and there will be so many papers for the administration to respond to. And I'm wondering whether we should step up the effort. I hope members will understand that I'm not trying to block the passage of the bill. Allow me one more meeting to make a point about all my concerns before we move on to the clause-by-clause scrutiny. Otherwise, I would just lengthen the procedure of clause-by-clause scrutiny. It may easily take 5, 6, or 7 meetings in such circumstances. Do think about it, Chairman. Please consider before you decide. Consider whether these are the policy-related questions. Well, Mr. To, you have given your view, and other members have also spoken on our progress, and they would like to start clause-by-clause scrutiny as soon as possible. The longer the delay, the more security threat we face, and will also face criticisms from the UN Security Council, which would undermine our international reputation. We need to strike a balance. At the next meeting, after the Deputy Secretary has submitted the relevant papers, I would consider whether Mr. To's question is repetitive. And then perhaps we can move on to clause-by-clause scrutiny. Well, you're just trying to cut short the filibuster. You don't even allow me to ask policy-related questions. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you.